Oh, and we're live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Plate Stack Chat. As always, my name is Jason, or Jason CF Media on Instagram. If you don't follow me already, now would be a good time with FitFest coming this weekend, and then I'll be in Budapest the following weekend. But don't worry about that for now, because on this show, what I do is bring on some wonderful guests for a chat. And wouldn't you know it, once again, they join me from the world of Grid League. So fins up as we have some sharks on once again. But this time, well, we have a man who has been waiting patiently for his invitation to come on the show and maybe sending me a few gentle reminders now and again. He is a former player for the Sharks, but I guess that just wasn't enough. So he decided to upgrade to coach and owner. It is, of course, Francisco Gomez.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
Hello, Fico. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Finally, we did it, right?
I know.
So I had some Sharks on before Vegas, which was good. Then I had a lot of the Aces on, and you said, "Hey, what's going on here? Where was my invite when the other Sharks were on?" And I said to you, "Don't worry, we'll get you on after Vegas."
Yes.
And that did not happen. And then, and then the Wilds kept coming on, and you were like, "Hey, what's going on?"
I want some love.
And here you are. But of course, you are not alone. So joining us is a wonderful athlete that is so loyal to her coach. She agreed to come on the show and didn't even know it was going to be live until I tagged her in an Instagram story. She is a functional fitness coach, as well as coaching tumbling and acro skills. So really no surprise that she was the 2022 Utility Player MVP and Grid League MVP. This was her first year with the Sharks. It is super mum Sammy Nalley.
Hey.
See, Sammy, that's all I needed to know about the gymnastics / acro skills coach. It was just for that. It was just that you know, that feels to me.
You made one mistake, but all good.
Oh no, what was it? What did I do? What was it? Were you not the utility
second year
player?
with the Sharks? Second year.
Is it your second year with the Sharks?
Yeah.
Well, you know why that's a mistake? Because I read it off of the Sharks bio page thing on the website. So I'm sorry that my facts. I actually wanted to speak to you about the website, or the web page, I should say, because it's all kind of. So I have a question about it. This is so sad that I'm asking this straight away. This is the first thing to ask about. You can link to the website through the Grid League website, right? So you go to the Grid League website. There's like the little squares with the different logos. Click on Sharks. Bang! There I have Sharks. That's not what I do, because I always just type in Google Grid League Sharks, Grid League Wild, Grid League whatever. Get your web page. But they're all different, all those pages. So are you running your page on the Grid League site? Are Grid doing it for you? Like, how does it work?
Yeah, so the majority of the teams, the league helps them with the website. This year, my other owner, Concepcion, he's very good at websites. He's kind of behind the scenes, nothing to do with fitness. All that stuff. All that he does is kind of behind the scenes, and he's a whiz. So he did an awesome job creating the website, took over, and even took over. He brought in a team for the social media and kind of took over. So yeah. So all that is definitely not me. I don't know how to do any of it.
But just because I feel bad now, because like I called it out saying, well, that the reason it's wrong is because the website was wrong. But actually, it's a really nice. Again, I've been on all the pages. I've stalked all the pages of all the teams. Yours is one of the nicest looking pages. There's some nice things over there. I mean, there's a whole a whole documentary on you about your going from player to coach. That's cool. I also saw, very nice, my show was on there. So a link to the Sharks coming on this show was there. So, well done. Thank you.
Yeah, no.
But still, that's why I said Sammy was only in her first year with the Sharks, when actually it was the second year. So I apologize. I should have known. Sammy, welcome. Sorry about that. There we go. All of that. But yeah, feel free to call me out. I make lots of mistakes. So well done.
We can just update it straight to the third year, right, Pico?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I mean, I kind of want to get in about the whole formation of the team, to be honest. I've got so many. I've got questions. I've got a lot of interesting questions, I think. But I do want to. So there's a reel that went out. I'm not sure if you guys put that up or if Grid put that up or how that happened, but there is a reel with you talking about building the team this year and this kind of waiting to see who wasn't re-signed. I'm paraphrasing a bit, but am I correct in what I've remembered or what I've seen?
Yeah, some of the things you are. So that was created.
Some of the things. There we go.
It was created by the league.
Some of the things, Sammy, not all of them though. Some of the things.
Yeah, it was created by the league. They kind of came into the gym that I kind of go worked out, and we did like a little interview in there, asking me about the stuff. I came into the ownership last year late, so we were already within the re-sign period. The previous coach and owner, which he's still actually also an owner, wasn't sure what we're gonna do yet and things like that. So I came in kind of late to the party. I think I have about like 2 weeks or something to be able to re-sign our players that were currently, and then if after that, then I'm able to talk to somebody else from other teams. And yeah, so after I talked to our players, decided who was going to sign, then kind of get on the whiteboard, see what our holes are, what do we need, and then the path of least resistant is to have people that already play grid. Some of them that were not re-signed, all that stuff. So I was like, reach out and see, hey, what are you thinking for this year? You're a good player. If I didn't know them, I even asked like Sammy. I think I asked Sammy to message somebody or some of them and things like that to get me in contact with them and things like that. So that's how it went.
Yeah. Okay. The reason I ask is because I heard just a throwaway line yesterday, actually, on the show. I can't remember whether it was Dan or Griffin who said it. Somebody mentioned that like the Sharks was kind of considered almost like a super team. Like this is, and I this is me then today thinking about this line. This is what happens to me. Welcome to my mind. So I'm thinking about this idea of like it being a super team, but then I'm trying to marry that up with the idea of grabbing players that hadn't been re-signed, because you would assume, if you're a fantastic player, that you're on a team that now is considered to be a super team, like you'd be re-signed, right? Like that's the jump in logic that I'm making. Is hold on. So I was just wondering how these two things matched up, but like I understand there can be a number of reasons why a person isn't re-signed, and I don't expect you to.
Each player was different. Each player was different. For example, Jessie, she was not going to play. She was definitely not going to play. Same thing with Kristen Crenshaw. They were not thinking about playing at all. And they haven't made a decision. I kind of convinced them to play. The one that was the most controversial, and that's kind of what I think we got, how you call it, like a lot of media behind it and all that stuff. We also had their GOAT player, but the big one was David. So David Black came from the championship. So he won the championship the year before for the Aces and then came over for our team. And that was the big splash, obviously, because he's probably the best one of the best bodyweight specialists. And you combine him with the 3-time bodyweight specialist of the year, which is on our team, Quentin Embrioso. So you have those two, animals on the rings and just bodyweight and all that stuff.
I see.
Yeah.
Well,
and then going back to the super team, going back to that, because there's an assumption that we came into the season and that it's a favorite, and that was not true. When we came in on the rankings at the beginning of the season, I think it was the Aces 1, Lions 2nd, we were 3rd, and the Wild were 4th. We were both kind of on the same page in there. Then after we got lucky, or not lucky, we worked hard, obviously, but the matchup came where we play our first match against the Aces. Obviously, the Aces was a favorite. They won the champion before, and then we beat them by, I think, in margin of like 8 points. So we made a statement during that match, and that's kind of when things were like, oh, this is actually a good team. This is they have a cohesive team. The players that came in over, like Jesse, Sydney, and David during that match, they were very good at Excel. Jesse and Sydney both won ringer points. David, the Jack and Jill, he kind of saved the race as well. So they have like outstanding performance during that match, and that's kind of when the tie went over like okay, this team might be a good team now as a favorite, but we didn't start the season that way.
Yeah, I think it's better, right? I mean, that's the problem of like being the reigning champ is you go in with people being like, you know, a lot of expectations. Whereas if it can be like we're just having a really good season and now we're a favorite because of our performance, that's much better than like going in with just, oh well, you won it last year, so we, you know, you're a favorite to win this year kind of thing. So yeah, okay. I don't know, Sammy, did you feel any like pressure during the season as you know, as the season progressed, that people were like expecting something particular from you, or you were just in the zone enjoying kind of the matches? I don't know.
Little bit of both. I mean, there's always pressure no matter what. Like, even if you have a bunch of studs on the team, like you always feel that like nervousness and stuff before matches. But I think my favorite part about the season was just like, not only did we pick people that are good, we just picked people that we really liked and got along with. So like, it doesn't matter if you have a whole team of studs if you're not going to get along with them, if people aren't going to like, you know, let other people who are better at something play, you know, just be a team player in general. And I think Fico did a really good job of picking players that he knew would mesh with the rest of us and that we got along with really well, like on and off the grid.
Yeah, I think, yeah, probably that's something that maybe isn't like, I don't know, picked up on enough by people, particularly if people are new to watching it or they're just coming in, and it's like, you watch, you know, like CrossFit competitions or anything where there's a team comp, and you see them kind of arguing a little bit when they're holding the worm or something. Like, you know, somebody isn't quite where they should be, and there's a little bit of kind of heated discussion at times. You see that, but like they're still, you know, knocking out thrusters, or they can still catch up with the team ahead. But with particularly like in some of the races with grid, where, you know, you've got to be in the right, but you don't have time to to disagree with one of your players or to argue or something, like, because they're so fast. So it's just, you need to be in the right place. And if somebody makes a mistake or if something goes wrong and you're there, you know, trying to hash it out on the grid immediately, like, oh, I can't believe you did this, or it's always you, like, okay, the race is over. The race is over at this point, and you probably didn't even get 1 point. So yeah. Okay.
And all those players that came in, they literally did amazing. I told them already, I'm so thankful for them. They came in and was like, what do you need me to do? There was no like, this is what I did on my team, or this is what I did. There's no, they just came in and there's like, whatever you want me to put me on, whatever you think is best, this is what I will shine and do it. And they didn't ask. I mean, they asked questions and things like that, but they didn't kind of. Once I give him my feedback on this is why I'm doing this is why you're doing this is why you're not doing this, they understood 100%. We also had a lot of resigns. A lot of people don't talk about that. We had 20 players. We were one of the few teams that have actually total of 20 players. We had 15 of them resign, and 5 of them were new. So, we created a super team. We just added literally 5 pieces to our team that we needed from the year prior.
Are you insinuating, Fico, that maybe the narrative is being slightly twisted to be a bit more dramatic, and actually the reality is that pretty much it was the same team, but you just added a couple more people? Is that what you're trying to say?
Oh yeah, for sure. But I love it. It's fine. It's fine with me. I think we obviously have some splashes. I mean, this players, Sydney is a game changer. Jesse as well, Kristen Crenshaw, and David. All 4 of them are like top tier players on the league. And I know that and it's a big splash. But some other teams have also a lot of players that came from other teams. Like, I don't know, good example, like the Wild. They had not as big as splash because a lot of the players were going back to the team they played prior. But Casey was playing for a different team the prior year. Blake was signed with us.
Sydney Wilson.
Yeah, Sydney.
Wilson,
there was 1 or 2 other. Yeah.
Nothing Vilma. So they technically have more players coming from another teams, but we got all the attention because they were a little bit bigger names or bigger splash. Well, not bigger name, but I think the one that did the scale was David. Yeah, David was a big addition and a big controversial for that.
But had he, but he hadn't re-signed anyway with
correct
with the Aces. Yeah, so it's not like you'd poached him from the Aces like just before or something, like, you know, he's not re-signed, he's a free agent. So I mean, it's the thing I find fascinating about Grid is how much people do move between teams, which is normal in sport anyway, right? People change team, that's just sport. But I think just because of the kind of how close knit the Grid community is, or appears to be anyway, it's like, okay, now you're on a different team, but you know, we're still training at the same gym. We still see each other, we're still friends. So I mean, which is good, I guess. You know, keep it sort of in its place. But yeah, it's always it's hard for me because as I've said on the show, it's like I don't have a like geographic reason to support a particular team. And I've just got to know a lot of the players, so it's quite easy to be like, oh, I like this player, I'll follow. And then when players start moving around, I'm like, well, what do I do now? What do I do now? I mean, so I cheer for the Sharks when they're on my show, and then
there you go.
And then, hey, I've actually, could you check your DMs? I've sent you messages throughout the season. Oh, Sammy just she came back throughout the season.
Sorry, I'm like cutting out here. There we
are. During matches, right? Or like before or after matches, where I've been like, oh, Sharks are looking really strong. Oh, well done, good win, happy with that win. So, you know, I have a great love for the Sharks. So,
well, I know you do, and we appreciate you so much. The whole league, we appreciate what you're doing. We obviously, as you can see, we enjoy coming to your show. We appreciate you. So thank you. There's nothing but love. I was just joking, obviously.
I know you are. You defend me in the comments when I comment on things in Grid and then someone goes after me because they can't read. And they
that's true. Remember, I remember. I think it was the Chappie video of the box jump overs or something like that.
Yeah. And have you seen I commented on the Sharks post about like the best moment of, you know, was that today that post went up?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
You know, honestly, when you say that, I don't handle social media at all. Like I'm not very good at that. That's definitely my partner. He handles all of that, and he does an amazing job. Our social media have grown significantly. I don't know, when we first started the season, like at the first match, we were about 4,000 followers or something like that, and then now that in the season, I think we are on 13,000 now.
Oh, really?
All organic. Every day we're just kind of growing in there, and he's doing an amazing job. He was an amazing addition to our team, and I think teams are actually also being able to see the benefit of having somebody that is a coach and somebody that also has a back end, like the Wild bringing John and Mia. I think that's an amazing addition to the team and to the league in general. They bring a lot of experience, and then, for example, Dan can be his best self, which is an amazing. He's a coach, you know, and that's what he does. His numbers and all. You'll see all these papers, and you can shine where you do, and that's kind of the same thing is happening to me. I let him shine when he's good, and he runs things by me. We talked about things on the daily, but mostly I handle gameplay. You know, the players. What you're going to be doing, what do you need from me, do you need to rest, do you need to do this, all that stuff. And then he handles kind of the back end with social media, and there's obviously more stuff in the back end in general, but yeah,
Fico and Conce did great this year. Like, from an athlete perspective, we couldn't have asked for anything more than them. I think they set an example for like all of the coaches in the league. They played off each other's strengths. Like, they did fantastic. Conce was kind of behind the scenes. Fico like did more of our playtime stuff. But they took care of us so well, and I'm excited moving forward to see what they do next year.
Yeah. So it's interesting, like, Fico, the things you're saying about this kind of division of labor, and you know, and even things like not running your social media, which, you know, is exactly the same, like the same conversation I had with the Wilds, where you were saying with Mia and John and all of that, like outsourcing to the right people to do the right things, letting the people focus on that one specific role. From the outside, I see kind of how it's helping you. Like, I mean, when I heard that from John about the social media thing, that they'd outsourced it to someone, it like immediately clicked. I was like, that makes sense. That's why that's what your content looks like now, because I'd noticed that it was very different, but I couldn't quite like pin down what it was. And as soon as he said that, I was like, yeah, of course, that explains why it's these kind of reels, this kind of stuff to drive engagement. you're doing the same thing. As I said before, even like the website, you notice that there's a bit more style and flair there. But I was interested to hear what Sammy was going to say there about kind of then from an athlete's point of view, like being on a team when all of that stuff is being done by different people. And obviously you're saying it's your second year with the Sharks, but you've been on teams before that as well. Like, are you, as athletes, are you noticing kind of the benefits then are coming from teams becoming, shall we say, more professional? Maybe we can just say like more professional in the way they kind of handle stuff. How does that affect you as athletes, on the team now going ahead, when you're kind of like, okay, if he goes there, I know I go to him for this and that's it. And then, whoever's running this or running that will handle those things. Like, are you feeling the benefits that come from that?
Oh, for sure. We feel more like professional athletes, and I think it's like moving in the right direction for grid in general. Because I think we have a long ways to grow to where we need to be or to have like the athletes that we want to have out on the grid for. Like, nobody's getting paid to do this right now. We have some sponsors and stuff, but it's super nice because Fico and Conce are like doing a lot of the work on making sure that we have sponsors to cover this stuff, and just building our brand in general and making it more of a professional sport.
Yeah. I suppose for you, like, obviously you're working, we've mentioned that you're a mom, you're looking after kids, like there's a lot, it's not that you can just be like, yeah, why not? I'll go to Vegas for to play a game. Yeah, sure. Just throw money away. Like probably I'm now projecting, but I'm assuming like me, you think about, well, I need to make sure I've got money for all of these things. I've got to, budget my finances in a certain way to make sure I can provide for my family and, do all these important things.
Yep.
So having, knowing that you've got sponsorship, that you've got help, like surely it's not just, I guess my point is sort of probably it's not just within the sport being like, oh, it makes, doing the sport a bit easier, but it's all the other things, right? It can kind of like, you don't have to worry as much about.
It takes a lot of the stress out of our lives and stuff. And then we can just focus on training and like putting in the work that we need to put in and not all that extra stuff.
Yeah. And that was one of the main goals for us. That's when I kind of took over. I was a player, obviously.
Yes.
But I was lucky enough that most of the matches are in Florida. That's where I live. So I normally will just drive to Orlando or drive to Tampa and then do my match and then leave that same day and come back. So I'm talking about I'm spending gas money. All right. That's way different than somebody coming from Chicago and California and all that stuff where they have to spend not just on the hotel, you have to spend on food, you have to spend on flights, you have to spend on all that stuff. So my goal when I came in is to be able to find sponsors that will be able to help our players in general. I'm doing this because I really love this. I love grid. I want to be part of it. I actually enjoy coaching way more than I thought. Way more than I thought. So my goal was like, hey, any money that comes into our team, I'm going to pass it to you guys. And that's kind of what we did. This year, there's a lot of things, but one of the things that we did for our players, especially from the out of towns, we were able to cover their lodging, for example. So what is the big expense that is for them? And what's the big expense that also applies to a lot of people? And I can put a lot of people in one place. So it was like, I can do the lodging and that stuff. So they cover the flights, they cover their food, or that stuff. But they at least when they came in, they had a place to stay. And then I kind of budget for that. And then once I came in, I kind of started calling the sponsors people don't realize and Conce, because at the beginning it was mostly me. Conce got into it like a little bit later on it. And he was like, dude, you did an awesome job. But I contact so many people. When I talk about I span Instagram, I kind of talk to everybody on the area. I drive around Fort Myers. And, so I actually went in, I budget $3,000 for each match. It's 4 of them. So I need $12,000 in sponsors to be able to cover the lodging. And I just went to work. All people, all that stuff. And some of them I got denied a lot. So there was a lot of nothing. But then we also got some really, really good ones. And it worked out.
Do you need to shout anybody out now?
Oh yeah, I mean our sponsors are awesome. We have and some of them actually, even a lot of them came from the same players. The players kind of got into it. I was pushing them. I was like, hey, you need to find your sponsor. Hey, if you have anybody, let me know. And blah blah blah. And that's kind of, so we have T-Mobile, T-Fiber. That's kind of our title sponsor, and that came through St. Martin. So the head of T-Fiber for our Florida, he actually coaches her son. So it was like, hey, an introduction, all that stuff. Then we kind of went in there. Then we had one of our chiropractors facility here's experience. They're awesome. And then we also have UBS, where it's also been an amazing sponsor. So, and then her athletics, there was kind of one for her belts and things like that. Again, super grateful for them. They kind of helped us and help our players be able to just be players, not worry about, or help, they still have to worry about money and things like that, but not as much in there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I just wanted to make sure, I'd feel bad if we were, every time the Wild's on, they're cracking cans of stuff. They're making sure that their sponsors are seen. I don't want to get told that I'm not, giving equal shine to all the different sponsors. I think it's great that, companies get, and I think I said this yesterday, like the more, I think the same way you've got, teams have rivalries, like sponsors have rivalries, right? So if I'm a drink company and I notice that my rival is sponsoring this grid team and people are paying attention, maybe I want to find a grid team and I want to sponsor them so that people see my drink as well. So I'm very much a kind of, the more sponsors that come in general, the more eyes it gets. Potentially it helps all the teams.
I think it will. I think the teams, and I hope, this is my hope, obviously, I hope all the teams will be able to kind of get really good sponsors. And I think we'll get in there. That's the goal for the league as an ownership as a whole. We also want to get more sponsors, each team to be able to take care of their players better and things like that.
Yeah. So Sammy already mentioned, like, let's call it 3 years, because I'm assuming that's her unofficial announcement that she's returning for another year with the Sharks.
Yeah.
And okay, that celebration from Pico is making me assume that he's happy with that news. He's not going to, well, we'll see how you get on with the trials.
We haven't really talked about it as a team. Like, I have no idea who's coming back and stuff. I know Fico's been talking to everybody, so hopefully.
Yep, I've been doing a debrief for everybody about the season, how it went, kind of what the performance was, and what they're thinking for 2025. A lot of people, sometimes they have family issues, or not family issue, family, they want to start having family, or they might be thinking about moving. They're starting, I think David is actually starting college, or not college, grad school or something like that. Mm-hmm. So everybody has different things. So just kind of talking to them, make sure. Mostly talking about 2024, not that much about 2025, but I can throw it in there, like.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
What are you thinking?
Just at the end.
Yeah.
How did you enjoy the season? You had fun? Yeah, like everyone on the team. Yeah, really good fun. Oh, man, we were so close, weren't we? Yeah. You reckon we can do it next year? Yeah, I think so. Okay, right. Just sign here.
Well, Fico messaged us and was like, "Hey, I'm going to talk to you each individually about your performance and blah blah blah." And I was so nervous before he called, because, like, as an athlete, you're like, oh shit, I did this, and this wrong. Like, what's he gonna say? And it was like, mostly good things and everything. But as an athlete, like, you think about all these things that you did wrong, and I was like, am I doing my part? And but yeah, so it was good though for them to reach out to us each individually. Like, I think it's really good to look at your performance as an athlete and see like what they need from you, the following years, and just assessing everything.
Mostly good, you said, Sammy. I picked up on the word mostly.
No, it was good. I'm just hard on myself. And I know other athletes are. I talked to Chelsea and she was the same way. She was like, oh, Fico said that we said the same things. Like, really? We're just, as athletes, it's never good enough for high level athletes. So we just get hard on ourselves. But yeah.
What was it like looking back on this year? What was the kind of the thing for you that you were like kicking yourself a little bit about, that you thought, this was, that when Fico called you, you were thinking, this is what he's going to bring up. This is my big flaw. Was there like one thing in particular, or was it like little things throughout the season that you picked up on?
I mean, just life in general. Life got it got hard, stressful, busy, and that's how it is for a lot of us athletes. And so, we make some mistakes. There's little mistakes here and there that I made, that my teammates made, and you can't really be mad about any of those. Like, you learn from them, but you have to understand that all of us have jobs, we have families, we have other stuff going on, other priorities. So it's just little things that you learn about yourself for the following season. Like, hey, this is how I handled stress. Maybe it wasn't the greatest. I did the best I could. But I need to get my butt in gear for next year to do the best that I can, or do a little bit better. So I think this year for me was just a little bit different year. I had different priorities. I had to find a whole new job. I moved across the country. We're taking care of two kids instead of one now. So I had lots of family stuff going on, financials, all that. So I was just more worried that I didn't do as good as I did in previous years, or I didn't do enough. But it was so nice because I got to rely on my other teammates to do so much. So I'm so thankful that they all stepped up and did their parts and crushed it this season as well.
Yeah, I suppose I mean, and I mean, either of you can speak to this, but Fico having the background as a player, he's probably very aware of I know that as a player, I want to do my best. I'm really focused on grid. I love it, but also I have a family. I have a life outside of this, and until grid is offering multi-million-dollar contracts for its players that they can say this is now the most important thing in my life and I have to focus on it, it's always going to be that balancing kind of. I'm so intrigued where Sammy is.
Is you in your sauna?
Hang on one sec. I am in a sauna right now.
Is it on?
No, it is not. I wish it was on right now. But no, this is the only quiet place in the gym. So I was like, I gotta hide and do this. I just got done working out. And
yeah, I love the idea that you're that people want to use the sauna and they're being turned away. You're like, sorry, the sauna is busy. It's
yep.
it's turned into a recording studio. It's nice. I should get myself a sauna. I'll tell my wife, I think we need a sauna. We need a sauna, and then I'll do all my recording in there. That would be nice. Yeah. Is Fico an understanding coach then? Having lived the life of a player, do you feel, does that come out in his coaching?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think it's super important, or it benefits you in any job that you do if you've lived that part. So being an athlete, coaching athletes, it's super important that you've experienced everything, just the mental aspects, the physical aspects, everything that it takes to be there. So he's super understanding, because of that.
Yeah.
There you go.
Thank you.
Yeah,
no, I think all the athletes did an amazing job this year. And we set expectations at the beginning of the season. This is what you need to do. And this is, if you want to play, this is what you need to play. And what you need to do to play. If you want to, we put challenges or up front. If you want to be able to do the ring muscle ups, you need to be this time and need to be fast. Whoever's the fastest is going to be the one doing it and things like that. And they all step to it. And that's kind of what we set the expectations. And then once I set those expectations, I made sure that we stayed through to those expectations. So there were some, and I'm not going to name names because it doesn't really matter, but there's a few times where players on our team, they did not met those expectations. They did not send videos, and we didn't have practices before, so until literally championship, so they needed to send videos, so that stuff they didn't play, and they knew about it. Once I talked to them, it's why you're not here? It's because what our expectations were. You need to send a video. You need to do this. If you're not doing it, if I don't see it, I'm sorry. And that's what it is. So, that's how it went. So we met expectations, and then we stayed true to those expectations, and they're all super understanding. And even when that happened, where they were like, you're right. I messed up. I was busy this week or this month. I was super busy, and understand that happens to me. I was a player, and there's some months that I would practice every day, and there's months that I was like, I can barely practice this month, and I understand. But they understood, and then by the next time, they were all in it. So sending videos, ready to go, and so that's kind of what the big piece in there is. We set expectations and we stay true to them.
Yeah, which I think personally is super important for like just Fico being a successful coach. Like he did such a good job doing all the things that you need to do to set yourself up for a successful team, like building trust with your athletes, like staying organized, making sure that you like hold yourself to those expectations. Because as soon as you let one of those slide, like especially high level athletes or people with egos, like, you know, so many things can go wrong, but like he did a really good job of just being consistent all season.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? Because like obviously Fico seems like a very nice, friendly guy. It gets on well with the team. You know, there's you go through a lot together as a team. You bond, you're friends. You know, there's some of you have been on the team for a long time. You would have been with him as a player. Then he's now the the coach, and so there's all these relationships sort of intertwined, and it's that once you set that expectation, you're like, look, that's the rule, and the rule is the rule. It makes it a lot easier. Whereas if it's sort of like, 1 week, Sammy hasn't submitted her video, but she's called you and she said, oh, Fico, the kids, this has happened and that's happened. So I couldn't submit the video. And you're kind of like, yeah, all right, don't worry about it this time. And then I've not submitted my video and I'm like, oh, hold on a second. I didn't submit my video and you've not let me play. Whereas if it's just like, this is the standard, right? And if we don't meet it, we don't meet it. It takes away that kind of, oh, hold on a second, how come you like Sammy, you don't like me, like what's going on? It kind of, I guess, this defines a bit more that, like, I'm your friend, I like you, but I'm your coach, and this is, these are the rules we've set down, so we got to follow them, right? Yeah. Oh, is he like a strict coach then? Is he a pretty hard taskmaster, Sammy?
No.
Fico, cover your ears.
He's the perfect balance. He was good. Yeah, and we had a lot of teammates that like, laid the smack down on the rest of the teammates. Like when we're texting, sending videos, we hold each other accountable. So a lot of us, like, I feel like do a good job of that as well, making sure that everybody, has good reps and everybody's sending their videos and like just holding each other accountable as well.
Yeah, they did an awesome job, I was gonna say. And then especially Sammy and Nick Shappy, those two are actually, it's funny because I send them, hey, these are the videos that I need from you. They send in like the next 2 days, and I'm like, I didn't need you to do for the next 2 days. I mean, thank you, but you have a month,
but my thought is like, this isn't going to be the last time I do it. It's not going to be the best time. I need to like do it, see where I'm at, and then like, let's say somebody beats me in one, I'm like, shit, I need to go faster. Like if I want to be in this race, I need to be able to do it again. So it's nice to like be ahead of it, and like it's like getting your homework done early and stuff. You feel so much better just getting it done, and then you can go from there and just relax and train the rest of the time.
Yeah, they definitely set the tone for everybody else to be able to send videos and stay accountable. They set the tone for the whole team. They did.
Yeah.
By sending videos, they will send their videos and more. It's like, oh, I'm not on here, I'm not on this, but I'm gonna test it out, and see if I'm faster than you on this.
But it is good, isn't it? Because like, as Sammy's saying, like if she submits it and watches it and realizes she's made a mistake, she's got plenty of time to do it again. It's not like, oh, now I need to do it again immediately to like fix that. Or even if you submit it and you think it's good and you get feedback that's like, actually, like you could improve here or there, you've still got time to do that and then submit your improved version. Versus like if it's the last, you're like, I've got 10 minutes, I'm going to do it now, and this is it, and there's no redos. So I think that's good. Also, I remember like during when we went into the first lockdown in the UK, there's a little group of us that we used to all train at 8 p.m. That was like the class. So a little group from 8 p.m. we were like, we're going to do 100 burpees a day for like that first month. And we said, but you got to like submit proof, right? Like we've got to show that we've done it. And I would get up in the morning. It was like the first thing I would do was my 100 burpees, so I could send it to the group, because it was just like so good knowing that everyone else still had to do 100 burpees and I didn't.
Yeah.
And it was just the best thing to be like, wonderful. So I imagine it's a bit like that as well. Be like, okay, we've all got to do this. I don't have to do this anymore. It's done.
It's healthy competition. It's like, okay, like, I did it like this, you do it faster, like I don't, just seeing what people can do and like how fast they can go. It's fun, like working with a bunch of people that are at the top of their game. It makes everybody better and faster.
Yeah. Also, I mean, you and Nick training together is like, that's also got to be like, I mean, that's just got to help, right? Because you two surely push each other. You've both got somebody to chase or somebody to kind of, you know, motivate you in different ways. Like, I see the videos you guys post, and it's like, oh man, these
it's
two,
fun.
slow
and
down.
Yeah, he's so fast on all the squatting, so it's fun for me. Where I'm like, shit, I need to keep up.
I mean, can we? We were about to talk about it. Then when we went off those box jumps.
Yeah,
that was just. Like, so this, I was saying that they put up the post today. Actually, I think I saw you share it as well, Sammy, like the top moments from.
Oh, yeah.
And that was slide 11. I found it. I scrolled through and I was like, if it is, because it took me to get to 11 to find it, because I was like, if this is not here, then I don't know who's running your social media, but they need to. Because I think there was a lot of great things, but that was the one where it was just like, you know, like all the teams are doing stuff. Like, you know, they're all doing the same stuff, right? So some are very impressive in one way or another, doing, you know, the like getting into the ring handstand and stuff like that. It's all very, but that was just where like it was another level compared to what everyone else was doing. Just everybody was stepping up onto the box, and this guy, this guy, is just like, no, that's way too slow.
It's funny thing is like, so obviously we talk about the video, sending videos and all that stuff. So pretty much that was up for grabs for anybody to, you know, take over. And then he sends the video of doing them. Literally everybody was like, you can have it. There's no even like, I'm not even gonna try that. Like, it's yours. Nobody else is doing that movement.
Were you?
Well, it's funny too, because like for him that's easy, and he's like, I've jumped up on a box with a 200 and some pound barbell on my back. Like, he's done this shit in the past. It's not like 50s in each hand. It's nothing. So he's like, can I jump on the box? Like, and Fico's like, heck yeah.
So yes.
So the can was more like, is there anything in the rules that says I'm not allowed to jump on the box versus can I do? I know I can. Am I allowed to jump on the box? So you, like, were you anticipating something when, like, you know, you've got the format of all the races, you know it's coming, you're there, I'm trying to think, had you, who else had gone through the race? You weren't the first to do the race, were you? To do I'm
trying to think. Matches.
Yeah, for those matches, I can't think.
We were actually the last ones.
Yeah, so you'd seen the other teams, like, so at this point, like, are you just waiting because you know something? You like, actually, you honestly, had to know.
I kind of forgot about it during the match because I was starting the sprint relay, and I didn't realize he was going to do it because I think he was a little bit tired. I think we did tryout before or something like that, and I was like, maybe he's. And we already had enough of a lead that if we would have like if we would have just finished the sprint relay, would have won the match anyways. I was like, I'm not sure if he's going to do it. And then once he started doing, I just started screaming. And you can see in the background, the whole teammates were just like, you know, yeah.
In fact, Ruby is here saying it was so fun to watch in person and see everybody freak out.
Everybody freaked out. It was amazing.
Yeah, it's as I said, I think it's just because it was so different from what everyone else was doing that it just stood out. But
it's hard. Like I can even imagine it. Like I can't even like. It's just there's no shot.
Was it at this point, when you were like, "That's why I'm a coach"?
Yes. It's like this is why I no longer play. Talent is getting too good now.
No, it's fun watching like him do that. Like even Paula do her butterfly muscle ups. Like there's just certain athletes where it's just like that is just so dang cool that you are so good at what you do. Yeah. So I think that's what's fun about grid is people like really get to shine and do that cool stuff.
Yeah, I think it's just rare because usually they're the specialists, right? That are doing that. It's usually, and it's if we're being like completely honest, it's usually the gymnastics specialists that are getting to really show off. Because I guess when you pick up something heavy, like as a strength specialist, it's hard to, when you're watching that, to just perceive maybe how heavy that is. Like if you know, or even if you know, you're like, oh, that okay, what's the weight on the bar? That's really heavy. It still looks the same as when you pick up a lighter, object or bar or whatever. Like, it's not as visually kind
Yeah.
of different as some insane, gymnastics movement.
Yeah. But it's
Although,
cool, like once you know the weights that people are doing, like when Griffin and Jesse did their ringer point, when it was like, I don't know if it was 300 and 210 or somewhere around there, where you just know how much weight is on that bar, and thinking about doing it, you're like, man, like even though she lost, she just cycled 210 pounds for 3 clean and jerks. Like that's badass. And like obviously Griffin did it faster, which is still cool, but like as a female athlete, you more resonate with like what weight they're doing. So that 210 pounds, like it's still cool to watch for us.
yeah, I'm definitely always going to pick the female weight. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's true what you say about like knowing the weight on the bar. Like for me, I don't really follow any sports like outside of like CrossFit and functional fitness type sports, and obviously now grid. This is it's like my second or I think this is my 3rd season following grid. So this is I'm really all in. But I think for me, one of the things that really got me like initially following CrossFit and like the games and stuff was how easy it was to be like, well, I do that. I do this. I do the same stuff. I can't do it at that weight, or I can't do it at that speed, or I can't do it that many reps unbroken. And it's such a simple kind of equation that it's so easy for me to be impressed by. Whereas if I watch, like I'm in the UK, so it's like football, things like that, like soccer. if we're like, I'm like, I can kick a ball, like, and I get that they can kick the ball better than me, but I can't really quantify that in my head of like, why is it the way they kick the ball is so much better than the way I kick a ball? Like, we're both kicking a ball. What's so different here? Whereas I'm like, yeah, I can lift that weight for one.
Yeah.
And he's cycling that bar, but like it's just, for me, that's what really appeals to me about these kind of sports. It's just how easy it is to put yourself in the shoes of the athlete and know I'm not able to do that. Like,
Yeah. Well, a lot of people can't do that too. A lot of people, like just general fitness people, they're like, oh, these people are on steroids and stuff like that. Like the comments that Nick got on that video,
Already.
it's just so ridiculous. Like, oh, it's so dangerous. Oh, you're on steroids and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, no, he's worked his whole life to do that. You know what I mean? Like he's done the right things. He's built up the strength. Like that's not hard for him, and he's not on steroids. So a lot of people like don't understand that you can be at that level and not, be getting injured and doing all these extra things or whatever.
Yeah. I got in trouble because somebody was saying about how dangerous it was. I think that was it, right? I think it was always like, oh, this is so dangerous. Like, this is why grid. This is why grid's a joke or something like that. This typical kind of thing. Like you'd never see.
Yeah, he prefaced it saying like he did CrossFit, but I do CrossFit, but like
it's like you'd never see this at like a CrossFit event or something like that. And I was like what, a weighted box step up, like we saw at semifinals, like we've seen at multiple kind of events. Yeah, like you would sort of thing. And this guy, I don't know what happened. He went after me. No, it was somebody else then came on and was like, oh, you're just jealous because you can't do it. You couldn't do it as fast as him. So I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm defending him. I'm saying this is fine. It's like, everybody else stepped up. He jumped. That's not dangerous if he knows he can do it. But anyway.
Well, there's danger in any sport. Any sport is not always healthy for the body, and it's not. There's.
Oh no! The powers that be shut Sammy down. She's like, how dare she say there's danger in sport?
She's right. There's obviously danger in any sport, and this is not something he does for his normal day-to-day training. No. He only did it to practice it for be able to perform it at the sport that he does. Just like when you do football and you kind of tackling, you learn it, you do that. That is dangerous. You don't want it to do it often. You don't want to train doing it all the time, but you have to do it to be able to perform it when you use game. That's what he did.
Yeah. Somebody turned the sauna on and Sammy got. Can you hear us? Oh, okay. I don't know what you did. You upset her. We'll say it's you. While she's off for a second, Speaking of sport, I was, as a professional media personality, like I am, I obviously went back through your Instagram and scrolled quite far back. I saw that you went to the IF3 championships to represent Puerto Rico. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct. And I actually qualify for the ones now happening in 2 weeks. But due to work, I'm not going to go. So
come on.
I know. It's
come
too late
over.
now. We had to do the before November something.
We could have had this chat in person.
I know. I try, and just a combination of work and family and kind of the holidays right there. It was just too much time off. Yeah. But I am bummed. Yes, because I'm still in the group chat for the team.
How are you?
And they're like showing the uniforms and like, hey, we're getting ready, all that stuff. And I'm like,
you should send me any names, anybody that I should track down while I'm there. Because I'm going, but I'm not going to cover like specifically the British one. I'm there for I've managed to get myself media access from IF3 itself, so I'm there covering everybody, the whole world.
One of our players, Guillo, Luis Nunez, he will be there on the Masters 30 to 34, and he was second last year. So he's almost a podium contender to favorites for that category.
Okay. So what you're saying is if I need to finally get myself some Sharks swag, I need to quickly tell him to bring it to Budapest.
The only issue that you're going to have is that you have to speak Spanish because he doesn't speak English.
It's okay. Hey, Italian and Spanish are very close.
They are.
So I can understand quite a lot. And then my wife is Filipino, so Tagalog also incorporates a lot of Spanish words. Yeah. So with these two things together, I'm sure we'll be absolutely fine.
You'll probably have way better than anybody from our team talking to him.
Yeah. I mean, how do you deal with the language barrier in grid, I guess? Because again, it's so fast. Like it's... I'm not going to ask you for you. I'm going to ask Sammy. How do you deal with language barrier? Because probably it's harder for you, I think.
For me, I mean, I can speak basic words in Spanish and stuff. I just can't carry on the conversation. So I can say little things to him. I can understand little things. But like, I didn't have to work with him as much out on the grid. It was more the other males. Just for like triad, mirror, all that. And I know a lot of them didn't speak Spanish. So it was hard because you can't really tell him like where to go on mirror and like, if he messes up. And it was his first year. So it definitely was difficult. But luckily we had Fico and Conce that could kind of guide him. But it would have been helpful if some of the players could speak a little bit of Spanish.
Wow. Is that then you go for... So now you're like, if you're doing any endurance training, maybe you go out for a long run or something, no music. You got to start listening to your Spanish tapes and learning.
I was thinking about teaching our boys like some Spanish, some basic stuff over the summer. So I might have to teach Nick some so he can communicate and tell him where to go.
Yeah, I'll imagine that. Like that would be amazing to like return to the grid. And then people are like, wow, how's your training been? Like leading up to the 2025 season, you're like, my Spanish is impeccable. Like, wow,
yeah,
that's incredible.
Pico's gonna give us learn your Spanish. Yeah. I feel like all you need to know, like, if you can even say like aquí or rapido or something, like, just
rapido in grid is probably really important.
Yes.
faster. There go. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the issue with him, obviously, he did amazing. He was the only rookie in our team. Rookie, so we were all kind of the issue with him was obviously the communication between the guys, but it also when something went wrong, it was hard to communicate that to him, especially since I'm also I'm changing languages, and sometimes I was screaming him in English. I'm like, forgot Spanish. So it's like, David, go here, and then Guillo, aquí, muévete, para acá. So you have like switch it, the language in there. But he was super good. He asked a lot of questions. He kind of wanted to know the game plan ahead of time. he did have some transition issues. We always had them on the mirror.
Right.
Until actually technically he finally got it for the championship weekend because we practiced the day before. And so he was able to kind of finally get it, the transitions and all that stuff. But it was good. He did good. I think the team kind of, because again, he was staying on the Airbnb. I wasn't staying there. So he had to communicate with the other players, and they were awesome, taking care of him. And
I wish we could communicate with him more because he seems like a hoot. He's a character. Like, I want to know what he's saying in Spanish.
Is he like, so wait, how old is he?
He is something 32, 33.
Yeah, I know random, but I just remember you were saying he was in the Masters category. So that was like, oh, I was sort of like, oh, hold on a second. Okay. Yeah, okay, I'm sure he can. I mean, is he learning lots of ChatGPT translator? Ah, that's the trick. That's the trick. Okay. Yeah.
Kristen is our I don't know how you call her, but she's the one that kept everybody in check on the Airbnb.
Right.
She need breakfast, she's everybody need anything, you need a ride.
I mean, I want to say group mum, but I feel bad if I say that. So
oh no, she was. She okay,
she said it. Okay. Oh, hello, Jeffrey. Nice to see you here. Okay. No, so I'm just wondering. So it's like he learned. Is his English improving as well, though? If the whole team are speaking English,
he's actually getting a little bit better. Believe it or not, I know it's hard for them to say it, but he's gotten some words here and there, way more than when he originally started. Yeah.
So what? I mean, this is so funny. We've detoured to just speaking about somebody else who's not on the show, but will not come on the show because he doesn't speak English. So, but I mean, hey, you guys can come together. We'll do it in Spanish. It's fine, absolutely fine. I love languages. They're wonderful. I failed French so badly at school. Like we had to study French, and I could not care less. I was like, I don't care. I don't need language. Like it means nothing to me. And then I moved abroad, and I was like, oh, actually, languages are really important. It's really good to know other languages. And so then I made the effort, and then I found it's such a good tool to. You just immediately you smash down barriers as soon as you can speak to someone in a few words of their language. So it's like when we were living in Italy, there was a lot of immigration from Africa, so from Ghana, Nigeria, places like that. So you just learn a little bit, and suddenly you're in. And then like even at Rogue, I was like standing in the corridors a lot because I was waiting for these interviews with the athletes and stuff, and I realized like the security guys for the venue. It's got like so many of them were from Nigeria, and so then I was able to because the other thing is food, right? It's language and food. They're the two things. You know that about someone's culture, and you're in. So I started making friends with all like the stewards of the venue just because they were all Nigerians. Wonderful. But what drew him to grid then? Like,
so it was definitely me. So I met him at IF3 the year before. So I didn't know him. Yeah. No, I didn't know him. So we obviously were on the Puerto Rico team, the Masters Puerto Rico team. So in Canada, I met him for the first time.
Right.
And then saw him, obviously did awesome there. Then I saw him again at Wadapalooza. He was on the RX division, individual RX. And then I reached out. I needed somebody strength specialist, and he was good. Yeah. So I reached out to him, and I think he loved it. He kind of, he thought it was going to be different, but he enjoyed it.
Oh, right.
Be part of it. Yeah.
Oh, how different? What did he think was going to be different?
Because he's like, I thought there's CrossFit speed and there's grid speed. And until you're on the grid, you do not understand how fast you have to go.
You agree with that, Sammy?
Oh, yeah. I learned that the hard way the first year. I think everybody learns it the first year. That was one of the first things that I remember Dan and Adam on the Wild telling me was, all right, you're probably going to move CrossFit speed. I need you to move grid speed. It's a totally different thing. And, you just learn from other players and stuff. You're like, oh, crap, I am moving slow.
Do you think that's because generally like CrossFit stuff is going to be slightly longer? Even the short stuff is usually slightly longer, right? Like the grid races, especially if you're doing only like 1 or 2 quadrants,
Mm-hmm.
like you're on and off very quickly by the end, kind of compared to like a CrossFit thing that's maybe got a, I don't know, 10 to 15 minute time cap on it. So you're just sort of used to going at a speed that you know you're going to sustain for a slightly longer period of time. Or
Yeah, I mean, you have to train so many different things for CrossFit. You have to be able to do like the long workouts, the medium workouts, the shorter workouts. You don't train those fast twitch muscles the same way as grid. It's so specialized in the fast twitch muscles. So when that's what you like specifically train, you get a lot better at it. Whereas like CrossFit, you just have to be so good at so many different things. So it's hard to like specialize in something like that.
Yeah. Okay. It's a
For
very
CrossFit,
good
you
answer.
always have, for CrossFit, you always have to leave something in the tank.
Yeah.
On grid, I want you to empty it. For that particular, whatever you're doing, I want you to just go. It doesn't matter how you get back. You can wobble back to the start line, but I want you just to go. And that's the difference.
Okay. That's the speech he gives at the start.
It's fun. It's a different adrenaline rush for sure. I remember like my first grid match, I felt like I didn't even do a lot and I was wearing a whoop and I got like a 19 strain or something like that. So just like the adrenaline rush, your heart's beating, like all you have to do is go on the floor and do something as fast as possible and get off the floor. Yeah, it's very different than CrossFit.
Okay. That's good. That's good. I do find like I really enjoy the fact that it is fast just for that obviously I love all the CrossFit stuff. I go and watch all the CrossFit things and the different events, and don't anyone here watching this is like, Jason, you're meant to represent CrossFit. No, it's fine. But like if I even like the games, man, how much time I need to put aside to watch that. Like the events are so long, and then you've got like, if you've got like a 20-minute time cap on something and they're running 3 or 4 heats, it's just, whereas what I would love is kind of I can watch one of the matches, you get all the races on the grid, and then the time in between where maybe they're before the next 2 teams come out, I'll be doing something in the house, and then I'm like, oh, it's go time. And it's just it's nice and condensed. I just think it's a really good viewing experience. Like and actually, as someone who only gets to watch the stream until Ruby like flies me out first class to watch a match, like the quality of the stream has just improved like year over year. And this year it was like the best ever. You had the 2 screens, you could always see the 2 teams, you had the rep counter, you could just it's like so good to watch. So
this year was so much better than previous years. Like they explained all the races, you got to see the teams side by side racing. Like it was easier to follow, whereas before like you couldn't really tell what was going on. So this year, like especially because it is like a spectator sport where you need to know what's going on in order to like, I don't think it's fun to watch. So like basically it's nice because all the races are always the same. They just change up the movement. So it's like the same, however many, 10 or 12 races. And it's the same format every single time. So once you know what the races are, like how they work, it's easy to follow. It's just a matter of like figuring out what the races are.
Okay. Well, we have a question here. Good job. We've got Super Coach. If you go on, how long is a typical grid race?
So a race, which is kind of one race, is usually going to be under 4 minutes. There's a time cap usually, so that but the players are so good now they perform it even before the time cap. So normally the only one that goes to the time cap is the ladder, because obviously you want to maximize all the points. But so usually
the matches last like an hour and a half, hour and 15 minutes, somewhere around there.
Yeah, all depends on the reruns, but I think they usually last about a rerun. I didn't even
that's dangerous to talk about.
So the about an hour and 15 or so.
Yeah. So he says, do you train typically for 5 to 10 minutes of work, or less? I guess, or
less than that. I mean, triad's the longest one, which is usually about 3.5 minutes, and you're usually working for maybe a third of that time. Otherwise, you're training for like anywhere between 15 seconds and a minute of work, and then you have to sprint off.
Yeah.
So for training, obviously you have to train the movement that you're going to be doing, and that's kind of the best way to train. Obviously, go as fast as possible, but that's not realistic. There's no way you can train that way.
Unless you're Nick, and then
yeah, but the training piece, you want to do a lot of interval work, a lot of kind of what Sammy and Nick Chappie, they do this, I think, better than anybody. Train your fast twitch muscles. So very specific what you're going to be training on. Like mostly train more like a football player instead of training like a CrossFit athlete. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because even like you were saying, like the longest or the one that you hit the time cap on is the ladder, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how long is the ladder usually? It's
4 minutes.
4 minutes, yeah. But as an athlete, it's
Correct.
4 lifts maximum.
Mm-hmm.
Like so,
it should be between 20 to 30 seconds.
Yeah. So even though it's it's a 4-minute race, it's not a 4-minute race for Sammy. It's just the bars that she's doing, and then it's other athletes coming on. And then you were saying like another races, again, maybe you're just doing 1 or 2 of the quadrants, or you're just doing or it's like a sprint or something where it's just you, but it's done in, I don't know, usually like 20 seconds. These guys are crazy. All right. So short time domain and explosive.
Yes, for sure.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, we do a lot of training. I've noticed like our training that we've done is the same that football players do, track athletes, like any of that stuff where you're building those fast twitch muscles. That's kind of what our training has looked like, or what a lot of it looks like.
Yeah. And Jake has come in with some interesting questions. So like, Sammy, what sauna do you have? It's a gym sauna, so
a big one.
Wow, look at that. You get the whole team in there. We could have the show like had everyone there. And then saying, Fico, who's your interior designer? I love
I have to rearrange my desk and everything. I had a mess, so I'm hiding from the mess that I have. So
hey,
sorry.
There's a reason my camera faces only this way. Never anywhere else in this room. So don't worry, I'm with you on that. I actually had a question for you, Sammy, like ages ago. I actually thought of this when we were talking before the show went live, and you were explaining that you're coaching like the acro stuff and tumbling. So you're a utility player, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which means you do a bit of everything, but not to the level of those specialists, right? So we were talking a bit about this yesterday, because I just thought it was really interesting that you're like, with what you're saying, you're coaching like tumbling and and acro and stuff, where so for you, like, where is the ceiling on like the gymnastics that when it comes to kind of the different gymnastics movements in the grid? At what point are you like specialist and you step back?
Oh, like for different movements that I don't want to do, or just
kind of like where you're like, okay, this I feel like a utility player, they should, or maybe even not for you specifically, but if we were going to say for like a utility player in general, and obviously it's going to be 2 degrees, but I would be interested to know where you feel the kind of that split happens between a very good, like skilled gymnast who's a utility player versus a specialist.
Yeah, it's all about, well, one, how much time you have to put into your training. I think like if I were to want to train anything, I could do it, but it's a matter of like having the time, being able to do what it takes to do that, like mentally, physically, like I can get myself there, but I don't have the time to like learn the really good butterfly muscle ups, or I haven't been able to put in the time to do that. All the backward roll, the supports on the rings, like, so it's just one of those things, like you have to have people on the team that can do that stuff and pick up like where you can't do it. But and then another thing is just your body type. So it's like all of the high rep squatting, anything to do with like handstand push-ups. I've got really long limbs, which you can get away with it sometimes in CrossFit and stuff, but when you're going grid speed, when you're going super fast, it makes a difference every single rep. So I always do the best I can to like be able to do all the movements, but I don't think with even a ton of training that I'll ever be able to do handstand push-ups like Kristen Crenshaw or something like that. So there's just certain stuff where it's like I have to pick and choose. Like I want to be able to do as much as I can, but it's nice to be able to have somebody that can specialize in that stuff that my body can't do.
because I'm starting to like build a little theory around around all of this, and it's like for me because it's when you've got some people that are like they're a utility player and you're like, but are they seem more like a strength specialist, or they're a utility player and you're like, well yeah, but I mean I'm seeing the gymnastics they do, and I for me I'm like I like the idea that a utility player kind of can do like and you're going to have a utility player that has more of a strength bias and a utility player that has more of a gymnastics bias, and that makes sense. But like I love the idea that Fico's got you doing something. He's like, right, you're going to be here, you're going to go and do this movement, but the movement before or after, for whatever reason, like the movement before, they've got a rep left or 2 reps left that they just weren't able to get done, and you're like, well, I'm a utility player, I can do those, so I can get that rep that's been missed and then move on to do what I'm here to do, kind of thing. I think that's really good.
Yeah, as an athlete, like you want to be able to do as much as you can. And so like even David stepped up this year, like doing all those hang cleans and stuff. He's been really hard to be able to like fill in on all that stuff. Chelsea works really hard at being able to like do more utility stuff. So we all want to do as much as we can. But it's nice to have a well-rounded team so you like don't have to do all that stuff.
But then I think that like, and this is kind of where I'm going, is that you need, like, it has to then hit a point where you can't just use utility players, like, and you need to have the specialists. So it's interesting to see, and we were talking with Griffin and Dan yesterday about this, where as the talent pool increases, particularly probably for utility players, as more as more and more come in that are and the more you train and the better they get, it feels like on the gymnastics side, because they've put in some really high skill movements, that a lot of utility players are going, yeah, I'm not I'm not doing that, or like you who's saying, yeah, I could do that, but I don't really want to put in the time and effort that I need to just be able to do this one movement that actually we just throw a bodyweight specialist on and bang, they'll do it. But it seems sometimes like the top end strength hasn't maybe gone the same way, and that like a strong utility player can almost be a strength specialist quite easily. So like, are we going to see in the coming seasons that like the high skill get even higher and maybe the top end strength get even higher as well?
I think especially for ladders, I feel like we have a lot more teams that are getting all of the people through ladders. So I think like upping it 5 or 10 pounds, I definitely think we're going to see that in the future.
Yeah. I want to see people failing the bar.
Yeah.
So that when I see someone hit it, it's more impressive than, well, of course, everybody like, oh yeah, almost everybody got it apart from that person who's a bodyweight specialist, and really, I don't know why they were on the ladder. Like that's that sounds so mean, but you know what I mean? Like, I think we're more impressed when that person hits the 4th bar, when we've seen a lot of people failing on the 3rd bar, because then you're like, oh, he's strong.
Yeah, and remember, utility also, it means that you might not be the primary, so you might not be the fastest at doing this movement, but you can also do it. That what gives us the coaching staff. You sometimes when you do grid, you have to pick your battles, and good example will be the championship match. Doesn't matter what we were gonna do. We like the chart. We're not gonna win the mirror against the Wild. Unless they made a huge mistake, we were not gonna win that race. Okay, so you can now pick your battle. So I'm gonna let a bodyweight specialist, let's put it this way, I'm just giving you an example, do mirror just because I want to use her now on the next race. So it can play around with, you might not be the best person to do that at the moment, but then I'm picking this utility that is most biased for body weight, but to do that movement, just because, again, I know I'm going to lose this race. Doesn't matter if I put all my big horses in here, something like that. So.
Yeah, I think this is the one, like this is the for me the final piece of sort of understanding grid, like on that next level that I'm missing, is all the rules with regards to like substitutions, how many players you can play, what happens when you take someone out, like and Dan has mentioned yesterday of like us putting together a roster and like planning out how a team works, kind of thing. So that will be interesting. I will need more notebooks than Dan to kind of follow his logic on putting these things together. But I think maybe that's because, as Sammy, you were saying, like everything's really well explained. Like it's all really well explained. Like
Mhm.
It's this race, and this is going to be, in quadrant 1 they're going to be doing this, and in quadrant 2 they're going to do that, and these are the movements, and this is the thing. Oh, if they drop the bar, they need to go back to the start. Like, you get everything explained to you across. So when you're watching it, that's really easy to understand. I think still the thing that is lacking in understanding grid, for at least for me, but I think I probably understand it a lot better than a lot of other people that are watching it, is some of that behind the scenes stuff of like what, because already what a coach is doing, like it's I was saying yesterday, like, coaches in CrossFit, it's all before. Once you get to an event and the athletes on the field, the coach isn't doing anything at that point within CrossFit. And I've had games athletes tell me like, oh, they're just holding my bag. Like, that's all they can do when they're competing, compared to grid, where you are having to be like, who are we putting in here? What are they doing there? Like, it's constant, right? So
it is
Well,
constant.
we have 20 people on the team, but there can only be 5 active males and 5 active females at a time. And once you take somebody out, they can't come back in. So you can't just
Right.
like be like, this person is in this race, this person is in this race. Like, you have to be strategic. And I think that's what makes it like a really cool sport.
Yeah. It's a bit like those I don't know if you see those posts where they put up like a group of like superheroes or something like this, and they'll be like giving you dollar amounts, and we're like, oh, you've got to build a team and you can only use like
Oh, yeah.
$100, and it's like, oh, I can get those 2, but they're both $50, or I can get these ones. So you're having to be like, yeah, I know Sammy would smash this, but I need her later. Like, I cannot, or like would smash this, but not the next race. But then I need her on the one after that. So I can't like take her out, because then I can't put her back in. So it's all those kind of, okay, interesting. But that's good to know. All right. Okay. I'll make notes of this. No, Corey, you just have to go back to the start and listen from the beginning. And then, surely a utility player in grid is still power based. Hey, they're all powerful in my opinion. So I don't know. Let's. I think. Does it depend? I guess you've got utility in different ways, right? I would have thought.
Yeah. No, a good utility player, yes, because you still have to be able to sprint fast, like everything. Yeah, there's still a lot of strength involved for anything.
Yeah. Yeah, because like often it comes down to the sprint, right? And a lot of these things it's especially some movements where like bar muscle ups is kind of, even the fastest you go. I mean, I say some of them are pretty fast, but it's still you'll see them drop down quite often. Even the person who's ahead is only ahead by a small margin, and then it comes down to that final sprint, which is always fun to watch. That's why grid is fun to watch.
It is fun.
It is fun. Vigo, final thing, and then I'm going to let you guys go, because I'm worried that people want the sauna. Sammy is occupied it and she's not sharing. You said you were surprised by like how much you enjoy the coaching side of it. I'm just intrigued. Like, if you are surprised, like, one, what were you expecting? And if you weren't expecting to enjoy it this much, why did you decide to do it?
Great question. So I kind of knew that I will enjoy it, but I didn't know I was going to enjoy it as much. Just put it that way. The adrenaline that I got from coaching was actually higher than I did as a player. As a player, you get the adrenaline. Once the match starts, once they say 1, 2, 3, go, that just goes. Like, you're done. You're doing your job. You're focusing on your movement that you're doing. But as a coach, that just stays through the whole match. It just stays, and you kind of like creaming up and down and all that stuff. So it was super exciting, super rewarding for me. And there's especially a lot. Obviously, we re-signed 15 people, so I was part of. I play with them, so they were all players for me. So letting them trust me, and they really allow me to kind of lead them, was extremely humbling, and I was super rewarding for me, for them to be able to do that. They left their egos at the door. They trusted me 100%. And yeah, because sometimes I was not the best player or anything like that. But I did work hard. to be kind of a good player. And I guess that carried over for this, and they saw me working hard as well, just to be able to be the coach as possible. And I was not perfect at all. I made some big mistakes, especially on that championship match. That let's say like rookie coach mistakes that I made, substitution wise, picking the different ringers, different things that I made as well. But on overall, they super rewarding experience, and again, thankful for them to be able to let them lead, allow me to lead them.
Okay, very good answer. I mean, well, you've mentioned the championship. I mean, you had an incredible season. Like saying like, oh, rookie coach mistakes, but I mean, like, what a season! You went pretty much undefeated until. So here's the final thing then, and I guess both of you can speak to this. Is like, because Sammy, you've already revealed that you want to be back on the team next year. So I mean, if I find out next season that you haven't re-signed with the show, we'll be in trouble. But like coming so close this year, like the season that you had, and obviously that this season was crazy with like what happened in Vegas and different things. So there was it was a weird, a weird season, but also like this growth this season, like crazy season. We saw a lot of growth. We saw really ambitious plans. We saw natural disasters basically like intervening with things. But you like got so close. Like, how does that reframe now 2025? Like, you going into it, like, are you hungrier than ever because you're like, it's obviously possible, like we can win, like as close as we came, it's definitely achievable? Is it like, I don't know, I just don't know how getting that close and having like the season that you had and then just kind of it being a bit unfulfilled at the end a bit, or definitely like how does that frame now 2025 for you as an athlete, for you as a coach,
I mean,
for the team?
for me, like winning or losing, I'm fulfilled. My thing is like, I want to have a family. I want to have people on my team that are working hard. I don't care if somebody is better that like could be out on the floor or something like that. I don't want them out on the floor unless they're like doing their job, being a good teammate and stuff. And it's like, I'm surrounded by my friends, like I'm surrounded by like-minded people. Like that's fulfilling for me enough. Obviously the goal is always to win and stuff, and like having that winning mentality. But at the end of the day, like you learn from your mistakes, and I just hopefully like we can build on what we did last year and still have like really good athletes. Hopefully a lot of them come back, and just keep growing from there. You can't control, other people's mistakes or what the other teams do. So all you can do is like put your head down and do your best. So basically my goal is just to get my life in order and for Nick and I to keep training hard so that we can be the best athletes that we can be for the team, and make sure that we're like training the right things that our team needs us to do.
It's a good answer. Corey is shocked by your answer because he says you have to have friends in grid. Well, that rules me out.
Yeah, no. So for me, that the championship match was obviously a learning experience for me. I think that and I told him this: the whole everything up to the whole season was a success until maybe the championship match, and we're talking about we win 2 races and then we also champion. So it is still very right there. Obviously for 2025, obviously I think we had some holes, and just kind of one hole in general. We didn't have all our ladies and guys were kind of somewhat longer limbs. So besides 2 players that we didn't have on the championship weekend, which is Kristen Crenshaw and Valerie Gunning, they're also the ones that usually do our squatting for us. So on the male side, we didn't have really anybody that was kind of, like that's a specialty. And so I think we're looking for somebody that can squat really fast, and kind of that's the one hole that I think we're missing in general. And it was kind of on there. I think, and obviously they won and they deserve the win. They, Dan put a game plan that it was amazing. We can say that he outcoached me. He did very well, but I still think that we had the better team. They just performed better that day. And all I needed to know from our team standpoint and the mentality was our players through the whole championship, we lost the first 7 races. Most teams would have folded after the 4th one. They kept grinding. And then when they saw a little light at the end of the tunnel, which obviously was a Jack and Jill, we know that didn't kind of come out and all that stuff. They saw that light at the end of the tunnel. They just went to war. And that's all they needed to know from them. I could not ask anything more from them. They get left there all there on the grid. And again, I will not change anything that happened at all, because that moment right there of them pushing, not like, fighting with each other. Nobody really kind of got into it. Nobody's your fault. Nobody pointing fingers. Everybody was a unit. They got together and they took the beating, and then they still performed. And then even when they lost, they kept their head high. And that's all I needed to ask for them. So, to me, that championship is a stepping stone for next years to come, because that group of people right there, our core, which is most of them hopefully will come back. They are gamers, man. They are gamers.
Okay. So it's just going to be you going around with a tape measure next time, just trying to like measure up some limbs and be like, oh, I'm so sorry, but
yeah, dude,
we've got all our long limb people on the team already. We need, yeah.
So our girls are so tall. I mean, we had Sydney, which is 5'11", Breezy, which is 6 foot, Jenna Riddle, which is 5'10". Sammy, you are, I think, 5'6", something like that, but you have longer, like her legs are super long. Yeah. Then we have Jessie, which is the same thing. I mean,
Breezy.
we were tall.
Oh, that is a tall team, actually. Yeah. Like the only person you've said who's not taller than me is Sammy. So okay. I mean, I'm not very tall, so that's fine. Yeah, I've got short limbs. I'll come over. Just bring me on for that. Leave me off for everything else. But just be like, oh, we need somebody who can squat fast. I'm in. And then I'm out. So, wonderful. Well, excellent. So I think my takeaways from this are that. So obviously, going into 2025, the Sharks are looking for some short superstars. That's good. And then everybody needs to remember a team of Amazon women. Well, I mean, hey, that's a pretty good thing, right? Like,
I mean,
in anything else, you'd be like so happy about that.
Yeah, I agree. I think we have the best females, and this is just me talking again. Because a lot of people,
it doesn't matter if you have the best or not. It's who's going to perform on game day. You have to have people that are good competitors.
And then the other thing that we cannot stress enough is that 15 players re-signed, and that could get scout an entirely new team.
And I'm not saying I don't want to re-sign anybody from another team, but that's not the goal this year.
Yeah.
I know.
I'm glad that we got to speak about that, because I feel like the narrative has been pushed the other way. I'm happy to set matters straight. You know me. All of my stuff, I'm down the middle. I'm not taking sides. I know. This is good. This is good for me to hear. Wonderful. So excited to hear that. Can't wait to see what. So is it particularly in the women's side? We need to find some short people. You've got some short guys, or
not
is
just
it on
in
both
general?
sides?
No, not just in general. Just somebody that can squat. I think. Again, and this is just. That's just me being hypercritical on that stuff. And then you said the championship match. That match is super strength based and things like that, and it was a lot of squatting. And we were going probably against a team that had the best squatting team, like David McCarroll. Like David is, dude, like he's a beast. I don't know if you noticed that, but he did 25 overhead squats with 155, and he did them probably like in 30 seconds. Like that's unreal. And then you have Griffin, and you have all these guys that can very good, strong, heavy on their legs. But again, they won. They performed very well. But I'm still proud of our guys, the way they battle.
Yeah. I mean, that's an unfortunate, like, that's sport, right? It always comes down to that. And often it is like just something that happens on game day that was unexpected, or that you like. So it, and that's, I like that though, and I think that's important, right? Because like Dan's got all the stats, right? He's got all the numbers. So theoretically, we don't need to run any of the races. We just ask him who statistically should win each of these things, and then the game's over, right?
Yes.
And I'm it's because I've been on a lot of shows shows like this where we've talked like before the games or before other events, and it's like who ranking systems and who's going to win this and who's going to do that, and everyone comes with all their stats.
Mhm.
And I'm all like, I don't know, they've had a baby recently. I think maybe, and this isn't like a female athlete that's had a baby that you're like, she's recovering. It's like, like this person, their wife's had a baby, and like that makes you tired. That's stressful. Like you're worried about other things. I'm like taking into consideration all these other things that are not on your stats page, because otherwise it would be boring. Like that's what makes it interesting, is the unexpected kind of human element that changes things from being just numbers on a page to what we actually get to see live. So
yeah, it makes it more exciting. Like I obviously wanted to, right now I'm have the coach's hat and the owner's hat a little bit. So coach's hat, I'm disappointed that we lost the championship. Owner's hat, I'm so happy to everything that happened. Our teams, everything else, it was a success. So
wow, it's a great team. Well done. You should all be proud. Pats on the back all round. Yeah, and
for everybody, dude, this season was awesome. So every team should be proud of themselves.
Hey, I loved getting people on from every team leading up to Vegas. And it's hard now because teams change. It was much easier when you're just speaking to athletes, because you're like, well, you're still you. Like you're going to be you next season as well. With these teams, obviously certain people maybe don't want to reveal what they're doing, or or maybe they are retired. As you said, maybe they're time to start a family, time to do something else. But I would like during the kind of off season to get as many other players on to speak to, just to get to know them, because I always think that makes it more exciting when you're watching the matches and you actually know who people are, a little bit about their stories and stuff like that. So hopefully, we'll get some more. So Figo, send me some names. Just
you got it.
Yeah. Sammy, thank you so much. I know you're busy, so I appreciate you buying out some time. And I didn't even have to ask. He just told me I'll get someone. I was like, okay, that's what I like to hear. But I would have asked. You know that. Deep down, I would have asked. So all the best going into 2025. But there's a lot more stuff happening, I'm sure, between now and the next season of Grid. So family stuff, life stuff. Just all the best with all of that as well. Fico, I'm sorry that I will not see you in 2 weeks' time in Budapest. I'm very disappointed.
You have no idea.
But I will. I'll make sure to find some people on the Puerto Rican team to interview.
I'm actually a little bit happy because the skills workout came out and it had to be like walking backwards and stuff. And I'm like,
Sammy, what do you think about this? It's legless. It's one legless rope climb. So seated, isn't it? Seated. So it's one rope climb seated. Then you've got it's legless up and legless back down to a certain point. Then it's a handstand walk. And then do they walk back? No, I can't remember if they go back. But then it's two legless rope climbs again from seated without that, and then it's a backwards handstand walk. Then you do 3 legless rope climbs, and then you have to do a sideways handstand walk, left leading, and then like a right leading sideways handstand walk. And then does it go back to rope climbs, or maybe it restarts? I think on one of them. Anyway,
once I saw that, I was like, because I would have been stuck and walking. Actually, I would have been stuck just on the legless.
Don't say that. Don't say that. Not a Grid superstar like yourself. I refuse to believe it. Yeah.
235 pounds. It's not that easy.
No, that's true. Hey. Yeah. But you could have done that endurance one. That was just bike and rowing. That's easy.
Yes.
But too long. You'd have been like, oh, this is too much time.
No, actually, that one was the one I was like, I would have won that one.
Oh, you'd have. Yeah, easy to say that when you're not going to be there.
Well, on my division, remember, I'm
still home, record it, record it, submit the time. And I will. I'll let everybody know when I'm there.
You can do some machine work. Last year, that's the one I won. I won.
Is that the one you won?
The machine workout.
Well, next year it's going to be, I think, in Australia. If you, oh no, maybe not for the Masters. I have to check. If it's in Australia, guess who's not going to go?
That's a little far.
If it's somewhere else in Europe again, maybe I'll see you there. Anyway, that's the International Functional Fitness World Championships. It will be held in Budapest in 2 weeks' time. So if you want to know anything about that, you should follow my channel. I'll be there in Budapest on the floor filming lots of stuff. Speaking of, I don't have a show booked in for next week at this point, simply because I will be heading off to FitFest on Friday. There's the VIP day thing, so I'll be interviewing some of the athletes there, and then there's the Team Europe versus the rest of the world elite athlete showcase, then Triple Threat, which is a 3-person competition, and British weightlifting will be there, British indoor rowing, obstacle courses. Going to be a whole lot of crazy stuff going on at FitFest, so tune in if you want to see any of that. And then the following weekend I'll be in Budapest for the IF3 World Championship, so I'm going to be very busy, but good job I got 2 episodes in of this show this week. So thank you very much, Figo and Sammy, for making that possible. Thank you, everybody in the comments and everybody who was watching. And I don't know. I'll announce when the next episode is at some point in the future. You should follow on